Hey, what's up? This is Rafal Hoffman. What is this planet about? What is planet Earth about? The main function of the physical world is survival, and so everything is painful. Everything is strenuous, and the only time when you realize everything is strenuous is when the pain finally gets relieved and we finally feel better. And that really only happens on rare occasions, when we finally feel like we have what we need, or we have what we want. Well, what's going on is that people don't have all their needs. So yes, there is a truth that people don't have all their needs because what they think they need is not really a need. Okay, so meaning I need more, I have $1 million and I want $2 million. You obviously don't need $2 million. And the same can apply to many things. I have tons of assets, and I want more assets because I want the best of the best, and they're not satisfied. So there is this idea that no one is ever satisfied because it's built in to always want more. But that's the thing. The fact that we always want more is the very reason why we suffer. Because if you didn't feel the need to have more, and to change how you are right now, you would be content. So really the physical world is about suffering. It's not that this is the ideal state of being. This is an ideal, but this is what the system is about. The system is part of a very arrogant and very hypocritical, two-faced system that tries to oppress everyone. Whoever they are, wherever they are. You can't escape the oppressive system because it's everywhere. It's an energy that permeates. As long as there is selfishness, there's going to be this energy. And as long as we exist as separate people who identify as the individual that you see in the camera, you are going to suffer, and you're going to contribute to other people's suffering. And there really is no way to escape some level of contribution to suffering, or your own suffering, because that's what being human is about. You have some kind of identity. It gets built, it gets understood, it gets forced upon you. You know, the notion of I. The notion of I am this or I am that. The attached I, the attached self. And so this physical world is about selfishness. It's not the point of the world, rather it's what this physical world is about. That's what it is. And the only way when this factor is argued against, that agenda is pushed away, the only time when that takes place is when someone understands this and says we have to make a change, and creates a group or an environment where this awareness of human nature exists. The problem is people tend to make the group that understands certain ideas like this about superiority. And so religious ideology aside, the group that understands higher consciousness or higher values as the ideal and the point of life tend to take pride in it and promote that end. Forgetting that that's part of the problem. It's feeling you're more unique, more special. You are higher up than someone else. You are separated from everyone else. And like I said, you can't escape some level of this. So who am I yelling at? Who am I talking to? I'm talking to every person imaginable. But least so, those people who watch this video, those people understand what I'm saying, relate to it, agree with it at least partially, about the necessity to tackle human nature, to tackle this physical world, the very functioning of this physical world. Not to attack it and say, let's oppress physical desire. Let's try to get rid of desire. It's bad to have an identity. It's bad to be a part of a group. No, none of that. I'm not saying you have to do any of that. I'm saying to just realize that that's an issue, that too much of that is an issue. So you're aware, and you're aware that your own success drives can be oppressing others without even realizing it. Before I started this video, I was rather upset because I felt that people weren't understanding this. The way to understand not the way to understand it is to simply realize the truth of it. Is someone who has disabilities, or no, someone who didn't find a good job because they had a hard upbringing, okay? Are you going to say, to heck with them, it doesn't matter? The fact that he or she wasn't able to build enough connections so I can worry about them, it doesn't matter to me. So the fact that you can say that, or you can actually imply this with your own actions or lack thereof, it shows there's a problem with human nature. It shows that there's a lack of heart. And it's not just a lack of heart, it's a lack of sight, vision. When you're self-absorbed and you're into your own life, you don't see this. So I don't put the blame on other people for not seeing the bigger picture, for not seeing those who have less. Those who are, in a way, oppressed. But I blame a lack of open-mindedness, a lack of ear, the fact that I can't even get a couple hundred, I can't even get like 50 subscribers without my channel getting shut down for some controversial video I said like a month ago, and they don't even warn me about it. So who's gonna hear my message? Some random people who are probably very intelligent, and they may be inclined to start a cult either in the near future or in the far future, because this stuff sounds like I'm an ideologue. And what help do who hears me? Who hears me? Why is it that I have to reach 2 or 3 people who are devoted listeners, and while everyone else just ignores what I have to say, or ignores this key message that's nothing about me, but it's about people at large? So, you should tackle the president, not literally, but you should tackle the issue of a president, having a good president that cares about the public needs, those who are not wealthy or in a good position economically, that they should be in that position. You should head on focusing on things like that. That's important because it affects the whole country, and voting affects the whole country. But I'm touching upon an issue that has to do with the underlying society that votes the people in that they vote. You're not a bad person for having an ego. You're not a bad person for having needs. But if you're at a place where you don't realize how many people are getting hurt because of a lack of understanding for the needs of others, for the well-being of others, and that's more than just a problem. It's the root cause of many offshoot issues that we're facing. We shouldn't have to wait for negativity to happen before we wake up. We shouldn't have to wait for a state of emergency for people to say, oh, this program needs to be initiated, that reform needs to take place, this thing needs to be fixed. If you wait last second for things to get done, a lot of people are going to get hurt through trial and error. You're not going to do any, it's not a valid preventive measure. And even if you were good at correcting mistakes, or you were good at tackling issues as they arise, it's not an ideal to think from day to day. I know from firsthand. I used to think from day to day. My upbringing, people I was surrounding my whole life, we played things from day to day. But that led to issues. It led to us not getting to the right place. I mean, we're looking in the practical universe here. My path did not lead to a place where it's such a good position and situation for my future. So where did I go wrong? Right? I'm just one example, but there are thousands. And some people they're making it because they found some loophole, some off the books job, and they're working this part-time and that part-time, and they're cutting corners and in a way that's like no one's gonna care because it's just a little bit of cash. But why should they have to resort to that? Why should you have to work 9 to 5 and then 5 to 10 and try to think of every method just to have what rich people take for granted? You know, if everyone was rich, then there'll be no rich people. And then, you know, that's kind of true. I'm not going to argue with that because we live like kings, so we're all kings nowadays. You have flowing water. A castle 1,000 years ago or 1,500 years ago would have killed for irrigation, for that kind of irrigation. And here we have 3 of them, you know, 3 sinks or a kitchen and stuff like that. A kitchen with flooring that doesn't dust. So we're kings and we're rich. I'm not dismissing that. But if we were all rich, then it would be fair. It'll raise the fairness. And if you're worried that people, if everyone being a millionaire, take away from the superiority feeling that the ego craves, well, I'll tell you something. We're exiting out of that I'm better than you era. Right? The reason why Trump is president is because the guy has the biggest ego possible. That's how we got there. The biggest ego possible made its way through to the podium. I've been saying this for years. It's a symbol of the ego struggling not to die, and it made its way. And so in order to not have these superiority feelings, It's necessary to raise the level of equality for everyone. But people who are not advanced, who are not at the highest level of excellence in intelligence, where they haven't reached a certain level of consciousness, they're not going to understand this. And they're going to say, you're just preaching some new age crap that's going to destroy capitalism and stuff like that. But I'm telling you an ideal that we're ready for. And that is that the planet is ready to shift into a much less potent form of I'm better than you. And that's what connections do. We realize that we're one planet, we're one brain, we're one thing, you know, we're different, we have different factions, but the wires are stretching across the planet. And that's a symbol. It's a symbol of what's going on within our own psyches. We're creating connections. And if you try to sustain superiority, it's just you're gonna realize your stupidity more and more until you finally understand that you're part of the problem. But until then, it's gonna be very painful, because you might be using cognitive dissonance and trying to ignore this facet until your ego dies. Your ego gets shot with an arrow, and you're in so much pain that you don't know what happened to your self-image. You don't know what happened to your understanding. You have a midlife crisis. However old you are, you'll have a midlife crisis, because that's what it is. It's a realization of something bigger. Everything you thought you knew wasn't true. What you thought mattered wasn't true. You have to rethink your whole life, your whole way of viewing things. And so we're heading in the direction of understanding, and it's happening faster and faster, that we're one unit. That attacking each other is attacking ourselves. Not just economically, but also emotionally, but also where the direction is headed. People already see that we're heading in that direction. But even more than that, people already see that one planet means one body. That eventually we'll have to stop thinking in terms of different factions on this one planet, but thinking in terms of different planets among various variety of solar systems, right? You have to start expanding out. Obviously that could take centuries or whatever, but the idea is you're expanding. You're starting to see this planet for the little speck that it is. And that will help humble you. That will help make you see what this purpose is about. And those who know about spirituality know that there's positive energy, and then there's something that is opposite of that. And that's something we don't focus on, something we don't look at, something we don't care about. But it's the thing that's causing us to be uncomfortable in our bodies, uncomfortable with each other, and slow to see the bigger picture in things, slow to give everyone the opportunity to live the best life possible, the most luxurious life possible, and to have the life that everyone else who's rich has. Instead of saying, you can't have wealth because you look different than me, because you have a beard, because you have long hair, because I don't like the way you itch your nose, I don't like the way you wear a hood. Instead of saying all that, you can just acknowledge that there is no reason why you should want that, except for the fact that you have a lot of negative energy inside of you saying who should get what. That having equal playing field is wrong. And this topic has been bothering me. Because I'm personally affected, yes. But also because it's affecting the long-term benefit of everyone. Meaning it's not just my long-term benefit. It's everyone's long-term benefit. I just happen to be that small sample of people that are forgotten about. So if you help the entire planet, you'll be helping thousands of people like me who just weren't lucky enough. That they just didn't, things weren't in their favor. People were overly judgmental. And judgment is the key factor in causing us to be separate from each other and discriminative. We decide to say that people who act differently than them are better or worse, and therefore deserving or less deserving. And it's a ruthless system. And it's not a system they don't realize they're doing it. It's not a system that's happening because of organized groupings. It's a system that exists because their subconscious has not been faced. They have not looked at their own demons. They have not recognized their own fallacies. They've not looked into spirituality. They've not realized the similarities. They've not ended the self-bias. It'll be such a privilege if every single religion acknowledges that they have an ego, they have a strong identity and pride about what they're a part of, who they're a part of, what religion they're a part of. It'll be a big step up if they have acknowledged how much of a difference that makes on their subconscious. There was a time when pride was necessary, maybe. Maybe it helped groups sustain itself and to build up so that you can have more organized societies. But we're past that time. It's outdated. And as a result, we have to stop. We have to stop emphasizing groupings. And we have to stop being prideful of our group. Now, this doesn't mean don't love your neighbor or separate from a grouping that you naturally feel more inclined to love, or to love your group that you're a part of less, so that you'll equalize the playing field for other groups that you're not a part of. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to open your mind so that other people can come in as potential equals. So this is more of just going on and on of the same ideas. I hope you all have a nice evening, and emphasize to the future of generations not to promote the human facet of judgment that's keeping us segregative and feeling superior and continuing that cycle on and on.